Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of April 21st to April 27th. Now, before we do any type of recap or breakdown, I got a couple things for announcements real quick. One, I have additional things coming up. There is going to be an event for Beltane on May the 3rd that is going to be associated with the Strawberry Moon Apothecary here in the Tulsa, Broken Arrow specifically area. For those that don't know, Tulsa has grown out into a bunch of little suburbs around there. Broken Arrow happens to be one of them. And there's going to be an event for Beltane that is going to be happening on May 3rd. So, again, in person readings, you can come meet me in person if you are here local. That is going to be happening on May the 3rd. In addition to that, there is another facility known as Energestic. They are going to be hosting me about once or twice a month, one day out of the week, as well as they're going to be having some additional events here in the near future that I will be a part of, and I will be announcing those as they get booked. So, immediate things that are going to start happening: Energestic once or twice a month, as well as the Strawberry Moon Apothecary event that is going to be held for Beltane. Number two, bigger item. I said in previous episode that once I got caught up on everybody's readings, and I'm in caught up because, guys, in a month's time, I did triple digits, and I'm just going to say it that way. Not including the conferences that I did in the last month, just to be absolutely clear. So, not including my travel and everything else, I'm very much in the triple digits. But one of the things that was frequently asked at the end of a session was, this made me feel so much better. How often can I rebook with you? How often can I meet with you again? How often can we do this? And frankly, I put it up to you guys. If you're wanting to do it once a month, once every few weeks, if this kind of, replaces some kind of therapy session for you, that's a completely on you choice. But to do that, I want to make sure that I'm being fair in my pricing. So I'm not doing any type of monthly special, like I said before, but what I have done is I've gone onto the website and I've added a new consultation package, and we're actually going to talk about that right now. So going here, if you go to astrological consultations on the website, there is a new line item where you have multi-session bulk package. If you book 3 60-minute sessions, you are buying them at $40 a piece. 3 divided by 120 is 40. My normal session pricing is $50 for an hour. So if you're booking 3, you're getting it at a discount. If you go with 5 sessions, it's even more of a discount. You're getting these at the $35 an hour rate if you're booking 5. Now, here's the caveat to all of that. You're booking all your dates up front. So if you want to do it once a month, once every 2 weeks, once a quarter, you're booking exactly that. You are picking all 3 or all 5 dates from the beginning. Now, if something happens, the human effect, and we need to reschedule. Rescheduling is an option. You can email me, or you can actually rebook directly through the booking email that you get. So you're rebooking through the website. So rescheduling is an option, but to do that package, you have to pick all 3 or 5, however many you're picking, dates up front. So I wanted to be absolutely clear about that moving forward. For the people that wanted the multi-session that you specifically requested, that it is now on the website. So there we go. Now, let's get into the weight of the energy. And I do mean the weight of the energy. And I want to actually reference back to something that I talked about at the very beginning of the month. And that was the weight of Saturn and how Saturn's vibration is going to impact people. Because all through this last week, we were gearing up towards Saturn's exact conjunction to the North Node. And that vibration is something that we start this week, but the heaviness of Saturn, the weight of responsibility, of order, of rules, of law, the consuming vibration. I want to recap some of them just to kind of remind everybody the vibration that a lot of people could be feeling in this middle of the month, because I've had a lot of you messaging me going, I feel like a failure. I feel frustrated. I feel like nothing's going right. I feel like everything's going the wrong way. Or I feel like I have to do all of the things at once. These are things that I warned about. So I want to recap some of the things that I talked about in the month ahead forecast right here in the intro of this one, because if you're feeling these kinds of weights or a mix of the bunch, I would not be surprised. So let's talk about this. Saturn conjunct the North Node. Again, it is the most exact at the start of this week on April 21st, but all of the last week going into Easter and everything else, we were feeling this vibration. We've already been in this vibration. So this is not new. It's just this is the week that it's going the most exact. And that's why I didn't put a whole lot of emphasis on it last week. But I did talk about some of the pressures and stuff that would be very specific to Easter Sunday. And for a lot of people, Easter Sunday was not fun. I can't help that. I can't. Okay. One, that faded acclamation, accreditation, responsibility, that faded energy of like, I have to take this responsibility, seeing certain people come into positions of power, seeing like it's just the right time, this is the right place, this is what we're supposed to be doing, this is it. Saturn rules time and responsibility and authority. The North Node is the head of the dragon. And in more modern astrology, it has to do with fate. And some people can feel like it's absolutely time to do something, to be in control of something, to take care of something. That's number one. Number two, consumed by control and power and government and responsibility, just consumed by it. Now, in some ways, this can make you feel real crazy or real agitated or real freaking irritable. Like, oh, I will take care of it. Put it down. Don't do this. This is not a good time for certain parents. Because if they're feeling irritable in a multitude of ways, there's a lot of growling that comes out from it. Don't touch that. I've seen it. Okay. Number three, not nearly as heavy per se. It depends on how you are accepting this responsibility, but consumed by the needs of our elders. Saturn is many times having to do with authority figures, but even parents have authority figures. And sometimes that can literally be the police. Other times that can have to do with grandpa and grandma, auntie, uncle, consumed by the needs of an elder. And one of the things I said before, I'm recapping it again now, is January, February, March, all of those planets in their detriment, in their fall, going retrograde, doing all the things that it's done, has had physical impacts on people's health. That includes grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, auntie, uncle, whoever. And a lot of the vibration around Saturn in the North Node can have to do with we are consumed by what is going to take care of these people, to be responsible for them, to deal with whatever we got to deal with tied to it. And heavy is the head that wears the crown of said responsibility. And if you're not used to this, or if you've always held your dad on some high level of like, they're impenetrable, they're Superman, and now all of a sudden he's bedridden and he needs nurses and specific kinds of care, that can be terrifying for some people. Which takes me in to what is number 5 on the previous, but I'm going to go ahead and list it as number 4 now, the shadow effects. Now, some of us feel very, very consumed by everything, but then there is a depression, there is a melancholy, there's frustration, there is this feeling of inadequacy. I'm not prepared to take on all this responsibility. I don't know what to do. I can't handle all this stress. This is too much. I'm saying this as somebody that has cared for my grandmother while she was going through cancer and all of her cancer treatments, the chemo and the radiation, while still helping run a company. Now I take care of my mom full time. For those that don't know, I know I got newer people. My mom has liver disease and a broken neck, and she cannot care for herself anymore. And yet still I'm running a company. I do understand what it means to take on the responsibility of someone else that you never thought you needed to take responsibility for, because the roles have been flipped. And I also know what it does to your mind and your emotions when you're not prepared for it. It feels like the world is trampling all over you. It doesn't matter how many people say they're going to help you. You cannot feel that help. You look at somebody like a deer in headlights, like, help how? What? Even if it's the most basic things, like they could cook dinner so you can just breathe for 5 minutes, take a shower. There's something about it that it does not go through the cranium of like, help how? I understand. I get it. And it's real. Now I'm going to go now to number 4 from the previous list, which is now going to be number 5. But I felt like the shadow effects of all of that needed to be expressed very deeply. Heavily motivated to get all the shit done. And even this can have the shadow effect. Suddenly our mind is running about every single responsibility thing that we need to do. I need to hire somebody. I need to make sure these nurses are coming through. I need to get all these appointments set. I need to make sure that grandpa is all set up. I need to make sure all the groceries. Heavily motivated to get all the things done, get all the unfinished projects around the house done, yet at the same time having all the anxiety of like, but where do I freaking start? I understand. I understand. And whenever it comes to the vibration of Saturn, the end of the week going into Easter, the start of this week is whenever it goes exact. The weight of the new, and that's why I said last week there's volatile new, like the very disruptive new, because a lot of people had disruption. If you're caring for grandpa, I'm just going off the same example. I'm not trying to harp on anybody in specific right now. But if you're caring for grandpa or you're caring for your dad, it's not just you. Sometimes nurses have to start to come in. We have to, get therapy involved. We have to jump through additional hoops. And going into this unknown, being such a disruptive vibration, can be very, very hard, weighted, frustrating. But we also feel very compelled to do everything all at once. And as soon as somebody isn't doing what they say they're going to do, we're infuriated because they're not taking their responsibility the same way that we are taking our responsibility. I get that. I'm not surprised by that. And again, I warned of the vibration around this energy back at the beginning of the month. And now we're in it. Now we're in it. And again, we're starting this week with the exact conjunction between Saturn and the North Node. But that's not the only thing going on, because we have 2 other major transits that are going to happen this week. One, Venus's 3rd and final conjunction to Saturn, and that's going to be right on top of the North Node. Now, Venus is exalted in Pisces. Venus is ready to give aid, make something easier, give some kind of solution, give some kind of extra emphasis on something. So I don't feel like there's a lot of weight whenever it comes to Venus per se. She can always give us some curveballs. I've seen plenty of people have negative things on Venus, Jupiter transits just as much as I've seen positive pivotal ones on Saturn and Mars. It really kind of comes down to where it's impacting your chart. But speaking of Mars, we are also rounding into our 3rd and final Mars-Pluto opposition. Now, this is a long time coming. The first one happened right around Election Day back in November. The second one happened at the beginning of January. Now, the first one was in different signs. Mars was at the very end of Cancer. Pluto was wrapping up its trip in Capricorn. And then they switched signs. Mars went retrograde, came back into its opposition to Pluto in a retrograde. That was again right around January 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, that time frame. And then he went back into Cancer and went back to disrupt all of the emotions and all the things. Lots of disruption. January, February, March. Disruption is the very lightest term I can say. And I'm sure you all will agree with that. But now Mars is back in Leo. and it's making its third and final opposition to Pluto. And one of the things that I have said repeatedly is that we would not fully understand the vibration that is being brought forth whenever it comes to power, power struggles, fear, and what it's going to take to accomplish getting over them until we hit this third and final one. And that happens closer to the end of the week. But we will be in a buildup of the vibration all week. We will be in the aftermath of the vibration all of next week. And there's something that is going to set in for the long term. Now, why do I say that? Coincided with that final Mars-Pluto opposition, we're going to have a new moon in Taurus, very loosely squaring their opposition. It's loose because it's not within the 3-degree range. It's not an eclipse, but it is following Venus, the ruler of Taurus, going into a conjunction with Saturn. There's a new long-term vibration. The second half of April, every single day, we're getting accustomed to a new normal, accustomed to a new vibration. This is the way things are going, moving forward. We are not going backwards. We don't get to shake the Etch-a-Sketch. Control-Alt-Delete is not doing crap for this reality. We're going into a new vibration. And there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of weight. Confusion? Sure. Frustration? Absolutely. Inspiration? Yes. We have an effect setting in, and it is a new vibration. And I have to keep hammering that part because it's not like before. Whenever we were talking last fall, like, oh, we have unfinished business. We have unsettled things. We did 1 or 2 things. We've got some stuff from the past. This is not a lot of past stuff coming around. Now, in the most mundane effect, there could be somebody harboring resentment, but that harboring of resentment is still manifesting into a new situation. So I can't completely discredit the old. But the old people coming back around, the old situation coming back up is because something new has come about. Some new part of the vibration, some new situation. And it is pushing certain things to the surface. Now, for some of you, the things that are newly coming to the surface are nearly 2 decades old. There are reasons for that. But it is a real vibration that we are dealing with right now. I hope by the end of this week, with the Mars-Pluto opposition, my hope for many people, and I'm saying this as a Scorpio rising, the 2 troublemakers are my chart rulers. So take it with a grain of salt. My hope by the end of this week is that whenever we hit that final Mars-Pluto opposition, where we've had fears, where we've had certain frustrations, where we've had certain things kind of holding us back in a multitude of ways, that we finally have the ability to overcome them, move forward into something new. And knowing how the vibration will get to next week, and so the after part of the Mars-Pluto, we're also going to be picking back up on certain things from last year in a multitude of ways, and that's how we start May. There is something about taking vibration up a higher octave. And again, the last few weeks and this week has been trying to get us accustomed to a new normal. But we're going to go into a higher octave rather quickly following this week. So my hope again is that there's a gear that shifts into place. There is a frustration that can be overcome. There are fears that can be released. There are actions and reactions that can finally pull some things forward in that chariot-like vibration, because I'm suddenly picturing a tarot card of the chariot card. So much of where we're at right now is full steam ahead, but we have no control of the reins. And that very much embodies the chariot card. And I wasn't expecting that. That was intuition taking over. Okay. Moving along. Let's get into the week. Let's get into Monday. hold the phone. What is going on here? Pause. All right. Human error. I can make mistakes. Quoting my best friend, I is human and I make mistakes. Okay. Moving along. April 21st, this is Monday, and we are going to start this at 1:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. The reason we are starting it at this moment is because we have the moon making a conjunction to Pluto. Now, this is felt the most exact between 12:30 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. For some people, this is still going to be a part of Sunday's vibration. For other people, it is setting a mood. Please note how I said that. A mood going into Monday. Fear, frustration, all types of energy like that. The other thing we have going on is we still have the sun square to Mars. Now, that was exact on the 20th. That was exact on Sunday. But it is still setting the stage of a push, of a recognition, of a showcasing, of a frustration, of an identification of new power, of new vibration, of new actions. And there can be some people that they are not happy with the new actions given the moon Pluto conjunction. Now, there's a couple things that are still going to be going on, so I'm going to keep this going. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., so I'm still keeping this at 1:30, the moon is also going to go through a sextile with Mercury. Now, Mercury and Pluto had an exact sextile over the weekend. We had some hard conversations. We had some scare factors kind of coming in. We had some things that were very unexpected. And Mercury's part of that vibration is just like voicing that fear, voicing a frustration. But given Pluto is stationing, and we're just about 2 weeks from him turning retrograde, we're getting to a point that fear is not going to control us anymore. So these last little bits of fear are going to be important because we're getting to a point that we're not going to have the same thing shaking us anymore. And the moon's conjunction to Pluto, while in that sextile to Mercury, can literally be about like, I have to do something, I have to express something, or else I'm going to just sit and wallow in fear, frustration, and the like with the moon's conjunction to Pluto. Now, in these overnight hours going into the morning time, the other thing that is happening is that Saturn's conjunction to the North Node is going to go exact. Now, this is going to happen the most exact between 3:42 a.m. and 7:21 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this down at 4:30. Here's Saturn, 26 degrees, 50 minutes. Here's the North Node, 26 degrees, 50 minutes. And I've already spent a lot of time talking about like these two's vibration. Now, for some people, the things that we are voicing, the things that we are conversating about, the things that are coming through can be very unexpected to other people. We have a lot of things that are kind of going on simultaneously that are still feeding from the weekend. Venus is sextile to Uranus, Mercury sextile to Pluto, Saturn conjunct the North Node is the most exact, the sun square to Mars. So we have a lot of vibration from the weekend that is setting a mood, setting a stage for how we're going to feel on Monday. And some of us are going to be feeling very stuck and stubborn in some ways. I don't like this change. I'm going to be mad about it. I'm going to be frustrated about it. You're going to see other people that are just in a mood. It was Easter. You didn't have fun with the colored eggs. No. Like, okay. There's going to be some people that are just in a mood. Let them be in a mood. I have a feeling that that's how a lot of people are going to be on Monday. I'm just frustrated. I'm just mad. This happened, and it didn't always have to be the biggest thing in the world whenever we had whatever situation that made us mad. It just still set the mood, and we're just mad. Some people are going to be that way. Other people are going to be like lull, like in a lull of not wanting to be productive, almost feeling a little frozen whenever it comes to Monday, not feeling like we could do a whole lot, but at the same time wanting to do a whole lot. That Saturn North Node vibration, it is going to be very internal for a lot of people, but that does not mean external factors have not set in on it. And I do not expect a lot of production to Monday. And if you push production on Monday, if we're pushing somebody to do something, if we're pushing somebody to say something, they're very likely going to be very crabby and snappy. I don't want to do it. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. It is what it is. Just be aware. That's it. Okay. We're getting into the 22nd. We're getting into Tuesday. We got a couple little minor lunar transits going on. The first one's going to happen between 5 and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 5:30. The moon, 19 degrees, 22 minutes, is going to go through a trine with Jupiter, 19 degrees, 41 minutes. Now, this is the most exact, closer to 6 a.m. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter. Both of these are an air sign. We can be ready to voice something, feeling a little bit more logical about something, talking about a long-term change, especially whenever it comes to the doctor, the guru, the teacher. Jupiter is the doctor, the guru, the teacher. Sometimes we need to talk something out with someone that is the doctor, the guru, the teacher. We need some kind of insight or providing some type of information. This can be, again, providing some kind of information about an elder regarding an authority figure, but we're feeling a little bit more hopeful in this vibration, given the fact that we're talking the moon's conjunction, I'm sorry, the moon's trine to Jupiter. But what I'm looking at is the moon is in Saturn sign. Saturn is in that conjunction still with the North Node. This Saturn North Node energy, it is in Jupiter sign. Is it in Neptune's also? Absolutely. But in this regard, we're going to talk about Jupiter. We can be talking about the need for a long-term change, getting advice, getting knowledge, exchanging some type of information regarding a long-term change, expressing our emotions of how it's making us feel. And that can be a very big part of the vibration whenever we come to this point. Now, as we get into the afternoon between 12 and 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm going to get this to 12:30. Here we go. The moon is going to make a sextile to Chiron. You know, I feel better after eating. It's lunchtime, so we're going to just go with this. You feel better after eating? Yeah, I just needed a Snickers. Making, jokes. Sometimes we can talk about like why we felt so bad, why it was bothering us so much, why it hurt so bad. And the moon sextile to Chiron, this is the wounded healer. What it takes to heal, what it takes to feel better, where the wound came from, why we felt so wounded by something. And sometimes we just need to go to lunch with a buddy and we're going to feel better after we eat. Like I'm going off, this is happening around lunchtime, at least here for me locally. Some of you are going to go get some coffee. Some of you need to do some retail therapy. That can be something along these lines. But I'm looking at the moon sextile to Chiron and I'm putting into persuasion, like, some of the actions that we need to take, some of the things that have been brought up, that we can do small little things to help us feel better. And the moon sextile to Chiron kind of speaks to that. Now we get later into the afternoon between 4 and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this now at 5:30. The moon is going to go through a square with Uranus. You can see this right here. Here's the moon, 26:11 degrees. Here's Uranus at 25:52. We're just past the exact, it was closer to 5 p.m. whenever it was exact. But I always give a 2-hour window of whenever we can start to feel something. This is the moon in Uranus' sign. Aquarius has 2 rulers. Traditional ruler is Saturn. Saturn in the North Node, still very, very heavy going on. This is also Uranus' sign. Uranus is the modern ruler. So there can be something about giving information to someone so they can understand something better, asking a question, asking the perception, asking for context, asking for the potential of a solution from someone that has familiar energy in like about the topic. Like they're familiar with the situation. They've been through it before. Now I'm going with this concept because Venus is building into her conjunction with the North Node. Therefore, Venus is building into her conjunction with Saturn. Uranus is in Venus's sign. Now, there's something about Venus's vibration that can offer fairness, balance, solution. We just had a full moon in Venus's sign. We're about to have a new moon in Venus's sign. Solutions, long-term solutions can be at play throughout the week, and we can start to get little hints and little details of what that's going to look like based off of how the transits are unfolding. And we can get the idea of a solution. Again, talking to somebody who is familiar with the situation, with what's going on, has been in your position before, and getting some level of feedback, some level of advice for how we can overcome a situation, little things that we can change in grandpa's diet. I've used these examples before. Little things that we can do to help that little rash that's going on the baby's body. Like we can be asking for insight and getting very unexpected, in some ways, solutions. Some people, it can be a little bit exciting. I don't feel a whole lot of excitement whenever it comes to this part of the vibration. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I feel like we're going to get some unexpected feedback and advice that is very helpful in the vibration. Okay, moving this along. Whenever it comes to Tuesday, we have just like these little minor lunar transits. Like I said, everything else is either the separation from what happened over the weekend, or it is the buildup for what we are going into. So we're going to take this now into the 23rd. We're getting into Wednesday. And right after midnight at 12:07 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Pisces. We have some little emotions, a shift in our emotions when the moon goes into Pisces. We've learned something, we've had some things come through, and it's brought up some insecurities. Whenever the moon goes into Pisces, I again feel something towards healing and a solution, given the fact that the North Node, Saturn, and Venus are all also entering their triple conjunction. Now, it's not exact when the moon goes into Pisces, but over the course of the moon in Pisces, it will go exact. And there is something towards, yes, responsibility still, Saturn with the North Node. But in addition to that, when the moon comes in and Venus makes its conjunction, there's something about solutions, aid, making something easier, helping in the healing process, helping in overcoming certain fears. And given the rest of the vibration that's kind of underway, there is something that speaks to help, aid, and overcoming fears. Okay. Or realizing them. Let's be honest. It can be realizing them too, but there's reasons why I'm saying that. Okay. Now, the moon goes into Pisces at 12:07 a.m. Central Standard Time. And the first thing the moon is going to do in the early morning between 5 and 7 a.m. is it's going to make a sextile to the sun. Now, this is really interesting because this is not the only thing happening with the sun. And there is a reason I say again what we need to do to overcome a fear. The moon is going to sextile the sun between 5 and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is in Jupiter's sign. We are again dealing with this vibration of Venus, Saturn, and the North Node. But the sun is in Venus's sign. How do we fix something? How do we heal something? How do we care for something for the long term? The other thing that is going on, and it is the most exact around lunchtime. So I'm going to keep this going between 12 p.m. and 12:24 p.m. So I'm just going to bump it to 12:30 and call it good. Pluto is going to go through an exact square with the sun. Now, Pluto is in the higher authority, but again, Pluto is stationing. We also have this buildup of Mars's opposition to this Pluto. This is going to be a reactionary energy. But in this regard, Pluto can be pushing a fear that people are going to react to. That can be a big thing here. But in addition to this, given that we have all of this Pisces energy, some of us need to be very much coming to terms with a fear. Grandpa's not going to get better. Mom, dad, they're going to be in need for long-term care. We're going to have to go through rehabilitation. We're going to have to do something to ensure we're able to get better. And that can be a very daunting, haunting, frustrating energy in regards to Pluto's square to the sun. But I'm putting a lot of weight into that Pisces energy because I feel a lot of it is going to be in regards to like, there is a solution. This is how we heal. This is how we overcome. This is how we rectify. This is how we protect. This is how we do something moving forward. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Whenever Pluto is involved, we can always have something tied towards death and power struggles. And some people might get a confirmation this week that something could be detrimental. It could be fatal. Is it fatal in the moment? Not necessarily. It does not have to be. But you could find out something going on with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa is terminal. And once we realize that, there's going to be a lot of, again, weight, depression, anxiety, and melancholy. And some people will have to come to terms with some very weighted vibration this week. And I'm not sugarcoating that by any means. I'm just trying to make it as universal as possible. Other people are going to be going through things where they find a solution to something in regards to responsibility and authority, and it helps them overcome certain fears. Pluto squared to the sun can be impressing a fear, but we have all this other vibration that speaks to our minds are trying to find a solution to overcome a fear. And as more solutions come through, we can start to let certain fears release. This is a very mixed bag. Some people are going to be recognized in this vibration, recognized to overcome a fear. How they've overcome certain fears in the past, how much something or someone has changed. The thing about Pluto's vibration, as much as it can be about fear and frustration and the power struggles and death, it is also about reincarnation, rebirth, and very big phoenix energy. And then you can also have these moments where you see how much something has transformed and how much that transformation is going to result in some level of benefit. So as much as there can be the weight, there can also be the transformation. You'll know once we get to this vibration where you fall in this category. And some people, the emotions that we're feeling with the moon in Pisces is going to be that, rectification, so to speak, or I'm not coming up with the right word. Feeling, what is the word? Recognized. I'm going to go with that. Feeling recognized for the transformation that has happened. For other people, it is going to be the confirmation of the fear that needs to be understood, the fatality, the death, the ending that is going to happen at some point. It does not always have to be in this exact moment, but I'm being as real as I can be. Okay. Now, once we get into the evening time, and I mean quite late into the evening time, this is going to go the most exact between 11:29 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. on the 24th. So some of what I'm going to rectify right here, this is going to be a part of Wednesday. For other people, it's going to be a part of Thursday. For some people, it's going to be both. And that is Venus's conjunction to the North Node. And this is her third and final hit. What I also want to bring up now with the conjunctions to the North Node is that the North Node is moving again. So we do have new energies that are coming through. Venus's conjunction to the North Node, for some people, this is going to be consumed by eating our emotions. That can be a real thing with Venus. Venus has to do with food and things that give us pleasure. And if we're dealing with some emotional things right now, we can just be like, I need all of the Ben and Jerry's ice cream. What flavor do you want? All of them. Just grab 20, bring them home. We're going to be eating ice cream for a week. We can be very consumed by wanting to have a solution and feeling like eating our emotions. I'll be clear about that. We can be consumed by the beauty change and feeling like it is time to change something in our appearance. Now, some people, you've already been making changes in your appearance, and that came through in the Venus retrograde, and that would not surprise me. Some people might be getting to a point that you've made some changes, but now it's like seeing yourself in the mirror going, oh my God, I see that new me. And it can be kind of vain and vanity, but it can also be very appreciative of like making all of these little changes has made me feel like a person again. This new hair color, this new hairstyle, the new makeup, whatever you're doing, like we can be very consumed, like, oh my God, it feels so good. But other people, it can be consumed by, again, the emotional release, the nostalgic emotional release for sure. Whenever we're talking about Venus and the North Node in Pisces. But this is the third and final conjunction that they're going to have in this time frame. And there is still this conjunction building to Saturn. It's going to go the most exact on the 24th. So I'm going to go ahead and bump this now to the 24th. So again, Venus's conjunction North Node, it starts Wednesday night, at least for me here, Central Standard Time. For other people, this is going to be a part of Thursday. For some people, there is going to be emotional relief and release in this. For other people, again, it's going to have to do with that vanity aspect. It's going to feel like confirmed that the physical changes, the things that are making us feel beautiful are okay. Some of us are going to be doing sometimes things like, this is the only way I'm going to feel better. Others are going to be consumed by wanting to eat their emotions. And another way they can come through, eating all the Ben and Jerry's, making all the cookies, doing stuff like that. This is an emotional, for a lot of people, internalized vibration when it comes to Venus conjunct the North Node. Now, again, this starts on Wednesday. It carries over into Thursday. A lot of this is happening in the late night hours. So some of us might be just up again, binging on Ben and Jerry's, or feeling like we need to have some very heartfelt conversations. And that would not surprise me. Now, the next morning, between 9 and 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I got this now at 9:30, we have the moon in Jupiter's sign, making a square to Jupiter, questioning things about the doctor, the guru, the teacher, questioning the doctor themselves, questioning the healthcare worker, questioning the teacher, questioning the principal, questioning the banker, questioning these people that are supposed to be giving us support whenever the moon hits the square to Jupiter. Now, the moon is in the higher authority in Jupiter's sign, so we might have some experience in the questions that we're asking, but we're needing further guidance, further support, further elements in the vibration. This type of questioning does not have to be the heaviest in the world. It just says that we've got some questions and knowledge that needs to be expressed in a new way, in an additional way, somewhere in the morning time. Now, we still have Venus's conjunction to the North Node going on. We have Venus building its conjunction to Saturn. This is actually going to be building all day. It does not go exact until the late or afternoon going to early evening, depending on how you want to look at that. It goes the most exact between 6:32 and 7:30 p.m. So I got it at 7:30 exact. And that is when Venus and Saturn will hit their exact conjunction to the North Node. Now, again, the morning started with a square to Jupiter. This is all happening in Jupiter's sign. And you can see how the rest of the evening is going to go. Venus is going to hit that. The moon's going to hit that North Node, hit Saturn, hit Venus all throughout the evening time. And at this exact moment, the moon is actually going through a sextile to Uranus when this is going on. Now, Venus rules Taurus, where Uranus is at. We're looking at this vibration of, this is, for a lot of people, going to be a solution. It's going to lead to forward progress because this is the third and final one. It is going to lead to long-term change, but change is necessary because this conjunction is happening in a mutable sign. Jupiter is in a mutable sign. Neptune, the other ruler of Pisces, is at 0 degrees of Aries, cardinal instigative shit starting sign. We have new things in the vibration. I've said this before. I'm beating everybody up with it. I'm making it very, very clear. Now, the moon's conjunction in this vibration is going to be like an extra party to a lot of things. Before that goes, however, the moon is going to make the sextile to Uranus. Some of the solutions for some people are going to be very exciting. Uranus. Unexpected. Uranus. Out of the box. Uranus. Some are going to be very breakable in the sense of like breaking up the monotony, shaking something up. And that can still go into unexpected. We need something to kind of shake up the situation to allow for certain things to be handled responsibility. We have to shake up who's in charge of what. The moon sextile to Uranus during the Saturn-Venus conjunction can again lead to unexpected shakeups. And those shakeups are going to have layers because, again, the moon is going to get involved throughout the rest of the evening. The moon's going to hit that conjunction to the North Node. That's going to be closer to like the 8 to 9 o'clock hours. So you can start to see that it's coming, developing right here between 8:30 and 11:30 p.m. So this really just kind of encompasses the rest of the night. The moon is going to make that conjunction to Saturn, that conjunction to Venus, after having made that sextile to Uranus. So the moon is like, there's a lot of things that ties to the solution. It feels like a solution, the final outcome in a lot of ways, the final decision in a lot of ways that has to immediately be sent to other people, brought to other people, delegated to other people. There's a shift and change in responsibility. Now, there's another reason why I'm saying this. Mars and Pluto are getting closer to their opposition. Pluto is not only in Uranus's sign, but it's in Saturn's sign. It is time for some kind of solution. And it is time for these solutions to be something that help us overcome the triggers and overcome the fear. Some of us had some kind of midweek trigger with that Pluto Sun square, but there are solutions that immediately follow. And sometimes that solution is going to be that change in responsibility. Who's in charge of what? Who can take care of what? Who's going to do what? I need a plan moving forward. I can see that. Many people are going to need a plan moving forward. Some people are going to be a little loosey-goosey on their plan. That's okay. Sometimes you got to be a little loosey-goosey until we get some type of routine going. And that is okay. A lot of Thursday evening feels like trying to get to the final result, the solution, some final goals, some final plans of what we take moving forward. Who's going to be responsible for what? Who's taking care of what? And what it takes for certain individuals to feel loved and supported and safe. Saturn's conjunction to Venus does not always want to be overbearing. Some people do want to control, but in a lot of ways, it's like, I just want to take care. And considering this is the third and final one, we've had a retrograde that ended with Venus in this conjunction to Saturn that engulfed most of the month. I think most people are getting past the vibration of control, and it's more along the lines of like, this is what's going to be necessary to take care. Okay. Oh, moving this along. We're going to get into the 25th. Now, right after midnight at 2:24 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I got this now at 2:30, the moon is going to go into Aries. Oh, now the moon rules our intuitive side, our empathic side, our emotional side. Mercury is our logical brain, and both of them are in Aries. They're in Mars' sign while we're building to the Mars-Pluto opposition. Some of the actions that we feel very compelled to say or do or be a part of is meant to address a power struggle, Mars' opposition to Pluto, address a fear, Mars' opposition to Pluto, or how we progress from all of the transformation that has already happened, moving forward from here, Mars' opposition to Pluto. Given now we have a lot of emphasis, once the moon goes into Aries, on Mars's vibration and the action and reaction that is necessary to either overcome a fear, overcome frustration, overcome a power struggle, or how we finally settle certain aspects towards death for some, transformation and overcoming for others. These next few days, while the moon is in Aries, is going to have a very pivotal, for many, disruptive, because we're talking about Mars ruled energy, for some people, even chaotic vibration, given what we're building into. But a lot of us need to handle certain levels of frustration in a very final way, because again, we're going into that third and final Mars-Pluto opposition, and this vibration is months in the making. It's going to be an interesting few days. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. All right. As soon as the moon goes into Aries, it's going to start a conjunction to Neptune, and that goes the most exact between 3 and 5 a.m. So I got this at 3:30. Here's the moon, 0 degrees, 40 minutes. Here's Neptune, 0 degrees, 55 minutes. This is still loosely in a trine to that Mars. This is happening in Mars' sign, and Mars is hitting that 3-degree mark. Over the course of the next few days, this opposition is going to go exact. Be very clear on what Aries rules in your chart. Is this your 6th house of health? Is this the 1st house of you, your mind, your body? Or are you an Aries rising? Is this your 11th house of friends? Is this a client house? Is this a money house? Be very clear on what Aries rules for you, because it's setting the stage of this vibration that's about to hit. So, moving this along. Between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to make a trine to Mars. Simultaneously, while it's going through that trine with Mars, it is also going to go through a sextile from Pluto. So I got this now at 7:30. Between 6:30 and 8:30, moon trine Mars. This is really exact right here in the 7:30 marker. But also between 7:30 and 9:30, it's starting its trine from Pluto. So you can see this here too. Some of what's starting to build up, there is outside source, there is outside information, there's an outside party giving guidance, giving information, talking about the fear, talking about the changes, talking about the power struggle, talking about what's coming through that is feeding into what for many people is about to be faced. And a lot of times when we're in oppositions, we're facing something eye to eye with someone. Be aware of that, because we can be building into a vibration of people being on two very opposite ends of the spectrum, given what's about to go down. Some people, this is going to be feeling very, very liberated, and it's going to be very, very hopeful. It's going to be setting the stage for long-term vibration. For other people, it's going to be setting the stage for a long-term hatred. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. Oh, it's going to be interesting. Moving along. Okay. As the afternoon progresses, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Mercury. This is going to happen the most exact between 4 and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this now at 5:30. Here's Mercury, 9 degrees, 6 minutes. Here's the moon, 9 degrees, 20 minutes. What's interesting about this moment right here is that Mercury is within its 24 hours of leaving shadow. This moon Mercury can be picking back up on prior topics, prior conversations, a prior situation that didn't quite go as planned. But now that we're aware that the previous plan didn't quite go the way that we thought, now we can pick back up on something. We were previously having delays. There's been a multitude of delays through the retrogrades. There's been a multitude of like halting, like nobody move. Everything was volatile, just like I said it would be. And now we're getting to a point that not everything is as volatile anymore, and people are going to have no other choice but to do levels of progression. This moon Mercury happening again in Mars's sign, as Mars is hitting this opposition to Pluto, there can be some very pivotal, necessary conversations about where we were previously having a delay, what has previously happened, what was previously said, what was previously communicated, what was previously traveled to, moved upon, whatever. Think of mercurial stuff because it can be traveled to. And now either finally going back there to get something going again, to pick back up on something, or we've been having very interesting conversations. Now, I'm going to say interesting because for some people, this can be, again, pivotal, necessary, the actions we do to take forward, very planning-like vibrations for some. For other people, this can be an argument. This can be a part of the tension. This can be a part of the frustration. This can be a negative vibration. For some people, because we had delays, we're having to now connect with someone new, and we're trying to pick back up on something from before. But if we're picking back up on something from before, it's got solution energy again. Venus and Saturn, they're still in their conjunction. We have a solution to who can be more responsible for something, who can help us take care of something. And for many people, whatever we start to go into throughout the weekend and going into May, so for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, for many of us, we're about to go into some very uncharted territories. We're finally picking back up on some things that are weeks to months in the making. So for some people, it's going to be exciting. All right. Now, after the moon Mercury conjunction, there ain't a whole lot else to Friday. We're going to keep it going. We're going to get into the 26th. So we're getting now into Saturday. The moon is going to be in Aries all day long. And in the morning time between 10 a.m. and 12:30, so I gave a bigger window on this one, the moon is going to go through a sextile to Jupiter. So I got the moon here, 20 degrees, 0 minutes. Here's Jupiter, 20 degrees, 30 minutes. Put this to 11:30. Okay. Why did I give a bigger window on this? I wrote a bigger window for a reason. Oh, because this is when Mercury is going to start to leave shadow. I gave a bigger window to everything on this day. That's why. Oh, now the moon again, it is in Mars's sign. Jupiter's in Mercury's sign. Both Mercury and the moon are in Aries. So there's a lot of the vibration again to the weekend that can speak to me picking back up on some prior things and finally taking something forward, finally charging into some ahead energy. There is some new things. Now, when the moon hits the sextile to Jupiter, there can be, again, getting some type of information, giving some type of knowledge, giving some type of lesson to or from the doctor, the guru, the teacher, giving some type of hope, giving some type of support, cheerleader. It's going to be okay. We just got to do these little things, keep it going. When we get into the afternoon, the moon is going to hit a conjunction to Chiron. This is going to go the most exact between 3:30 and 5:30. So I got this now at 4:30. Here's the moon, 23 degrees, 48 minutes. Here's Chiron, 23:50. We are addressing the wound. We are addressing the solution. We are trying to fix the problem. We are overcoming. We are talking about what has hurt us. This conjunction is happening while Mars is hitting its exact opposition to Pluto. It's not quite perfected yet. It's going to get perfected throughout the evening time. So like about an hour or two after this. That does not mean anything. We are still addressing certain frustrations. We are still trying to look for certain solutions. We are still trying to take something forward. We are trying to progress. Now, some people can be talking about what has hurt them in the certain situations from the past. And we might need to overcome some of those things. Again, some of us need to address the power struggle. Some of us are going to be addressing someone and creating a new wound. Moon conjunct Chiron during the Mars-Pluto opposition. And if we're creating new wounds, I said this during the full moon in Libra, I'm going to say it again now. We can be addressing or creating new wounds that are going to be either overcoming something from a long time ago, or we are talking about and creating new wounds that are going to be a long time set in moving forward. So some of this can still speak to that wound vibration that even goes back to the full moon in Libra that got activated back then. We have a long-term energy that is instigating in this. Now, the moon's exact opposite, I'm sorry, not the moon. Mars's exact opposition to Pluto is going to go the most exact between 7:50 and 8:43. So I'm going to bump this to 8:30. Here we go. Here's Mars, 3 degrees, 48 minutes. Here's Pluto, 3 degrees, 48 minutes. Moon and Mercury, our emotional, intuitive side, our logical brain, both in the sign of Aries. Over the course of the day, Mercury has left shadow. So that means some of the things that we talked about and dealt with before, because he went retrograde back on March 15th, some of the delays of before has put something into perspective for now. Some of the things that we started to deal with last fall, November, even back in January, are starting to come full circle. We're starting to get more knowledge. We're starting to understand something additional. And there can be either the creation of a new wound and a new power struggle here, or the addressing of the one that is months in the making. Be aware of that. Okay. Oh, after this, the moon is void. We're going to keep it going. We're going to get into the 27th. And right after midnight at 2:17 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Taurus. Now, once the moon is in Taurus, we have to pay attention to the fact that Venus is wrapping up her trip through Pisces. And the first thing that we're going to deal with on Sunday is the new moon in Taurus, while Venus is wrapping up her trip through Pisces. We have an idea of a long-term solution. This is a fixed sign new moon. Venus is in a mutable sign. It's a sign of change. Long-term responsibility, long-term solutions, a long-term beginning, a long-term progression. But we also still have Mars and Pluto very much direct in their opposition. A long-term action to overcome fear, to overcome frustration, to overcome the transformation, to overcome darkness, to overcome a power struggle. Now, not everybody's going to necessarily like the solution, but sometimes the best solution isn't going to make everybody happy. And there's something about this new moon that speaks towards a long-term solution, whether we like it or not. Sometimes people are going to have splits. They're going to go in two different directions. They're going to be facing new things. Sometimes we have to outgrow. And when the moon goes through Taurus and we go through that new moon vibration as Venus is wrapping up her trip in Pisces, the long-term solution for a lot of people is going to include an ending. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to let go of something or someone from the past. And that's going to be a very dominant energy through Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So be aware of that. Let's continue. Blah, blah, blah. Can't talk. Okay. The moon is now in Taurus. Now, the new moon is not going to take effect for a few hours. It's actually going to be more in the daytime. So we're going to have some things that are happening early in the morning after the moon goes into Taurus. This is going to go the most exact between, we'll say 7 and 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we're just bump this to 7:30. This will encapsulate both of them. What's going to happen? The moon is going to square Pluto. Simultaneously, the moon is going to square Mars. Their exact opposition was less than 12 hours ago. It was just the night before. So this is still very much a part of the vibration. And this is why I'm saying this new moon loosely squaring the Mars Pluto, there could be a long-term energy, a long-term connection, a long-term partnership, a long-term solution, a long-term vibration setting in this solution, overcoming, gear shifting energy. Now, the Pluto moon square is going to be felt the most exact between 7 and 9:30. Moon square to Mars is going to be felt the most exact between 7:30 and 10 a.m. And again, this is all happening as we are perfecting into a new moon in Venus's sign. And Venus will be finishing her tour through Pisces while we go through this. So we'll be in the new moon vibration all of Sunday, all of Monday, and part of Tuesday, because the moon will be in Taurus the entire time. So be aware of the solution energy, the healing energy, the corrective energy, how we're handling our responsibilities, how we're ending certain power struggles, how we're overcoming and facing certain things, and understand that sometimes the overcoming is going to mean cutoffs, releasing, letting people go, overcoming in all the ways possible. Now, the new moon is going to go the most exact at 2:30, so I'm going to bump it to that. Here's the moon, 7 degrees, 46 minutes. Here's the sun, 7 degrees. I mean, it is exact. And we're going to be feeling this whenever the moon hits the conjunction to the sun, the most exact between 1:30 and 3:30. And again, at the end of the week, I will do a new moon episode, pull cards for everybody, and we'll talk about this solution. We'll talk about this long-term vibration. Even though we have the Mars Pluto going on in this new moon, I still feel a peace towards it. Now, this is me intuitively feeling what this is going to feel like. There's still a peace here, even if we're looking at the things that need to come to a close, the things that need to come to an end. I feel like there's a lot of solution orientation to this week, even if we don't always like the solutions. And I mean exactly that. Sometimes the best thing for you is the breakup. Breakups hurt. Whether you're breaking up with your best friend, breaking up with that toxic situationship, doesn't matter. Sometimes the best solution is to go ahead and file for divorce. Now, there can be other power struggle dynamics that happen next weekend that just solidify. I have no other choice but to go this way. I have to do this extra filing, these extra injunctions. I have to make sure you don't have custody of our kids. Is that going to hurt? Absolutely. Is that going to be another round of power struggle for many of you inside? Just using this as an example. Absolutely. Is it going to suck that the kids can't see their mom or their dad as frequently as they would like? Absolutely. But is that still a very big part of how we overcome the power struggle? Is that the best and most responsible thing that we can do? Absolutely. Not everybody will be as happy about that solution as we would like. You're not a taco. You can't make everybody happy. Some of us have to fall apart a little bit. There will be parts of that vibration that speaks to falling apart. But so much of it also speaks to relief, release, recognition, and overcoming in a power struggle. And what will follow this vibration is going into the deeper parts of the new normal. And we will be finally picking up in a lot of ways on some old dynamics that we set up months ago. We wanted to do months ago, but there was a hesitancy. The vibration wasn't right. But what follows the Mars-Pluto opposition is Mars leaving shadow, and Jupiter leaving shadow, and Uranus leaving shadow, and Venus leaving shadow. And a lot of that's going to happen in the month of May. If we have all these planets leaving shadow, that means we're going to have some forward progression. And in the midst of that, Pluto is going to turn retrograde. An area that has held a certain type of fear over us will not have the same power. The thing about Pluto in that Mars-Pluto opposition is he's almost stunned. He's hitting a stopping point. And one of the first things that's going to happen in May is Pluto is going to turn retrograde. So we're going to have some kind of vibration that speaks to what it takes to overcome a fear, to no longer let certain fears control us, to no longer be in a certain kind of power struggle. But there can be other events this week that really ignite that fire. And I do mean ignite because we have so much of that Aries energy that's going to be happening right as we go into Mars Pluto. That's going to be a little volatile. There's going to be a lot of reactionary energies. But sometimes that volatility in the action and the reaction that's going to come through is going to set the stage for that long-term decision making and the long-term solution. And many of us have been in certain situations where we've been hesitant about something and we haven't been able to create a solution because we're trying to be fair and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but Mars is out of Cancer and we're about to really be okay with hurting some feelings. It's going to be what's best for everybody. Others, they're not necessarily just going to have their feelings hurt. They're going to be enraged. And if they feel like they're on the shitty end of the power struggle stick, rage is probably an appropriate response. I'm not saying it's a justified response, but it seems pretty natural. And there can be rageful like reactions that come through in the month of May. And we're getting so close to May now. I just have to just say the month of May. And I'll cover more of that whenever we get into like the month ahead transits for May. But I also feel like there's a reactionary energy that speaks to solidifying that this is the actions that we take into our new normal. And we're still in a full steam ahead vibration. But once we get through this week, we're really in a full steam ahead. Solidifying, this is the new players, this is the new environment, these are the new people in the play, this is the new part of the playground, these are the new toys. Putting it lightly. We're not all dealing with toys, but still. We're into the new normal. And where we've had a fear and a power struggle, after this week, it will start to dwindle. And that's going to be a good thing. So I want people to take note of what you're facing this week. And to be clear, it doesn't all have to be exactly on Saturday. Building energy of Mars and Pluto, it's happening all week. We will still be in it as we go into next week. Like it's not done. But so much of that vibration speaks to a new long-term change finally setting in that is months in the making. So whatever you feel compelled to do, the actions you feel compelled to take them. Understand that sometimes the solution means ruffling other people's feathers. But if that's what's best for you, if that's what's best for your family, if that's what's best for the kids, if that's what's best for business, ruffle the feathers. This is the week to ruffle feathers. You have my blessing. Okay. Like I said before, I'm going to be doing Energestic once or twice a month. I'll put more out on the website and on social media as that's going to progress. May 3rd is going to be the Beltane event. I also have another event that's going to be in June. I've already talked about that one before. That's going to be the Spirit Fair in Oklahoma City. So there's still more and more things coming. And if you're wanting to book sessions with me, of course, go to the website. If you're wanting to do the bulk packaging, just be prepared. You have to pick all of your dates up front. You can reschedule them when the human effect takes over. That's okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.